Hi. So my client is Marcus. He's 7 years old. He comes from a single parent household and he is living with autism. His mother and his aunt take care of him. His mom works overnight shifts, so the aunt takes over when she goes to work. He has a pretty typical diet of a kindergartner, so he's eating a lot of goldfish and a lot of Go-Gurt, stuff that's easy to bring to school and that he can eat at snack time, and it's easy to eat, it's portable. They are on the lower side of income, and she's expressed to me that it's hard for them to eat healthy because of the price, even though she would like to eat healthier. They are limited also in their cooking, so they only have a microwave, a toaster, and a hot plate. So that's what she's using to make food. He also receives school lunch every day, so that she doesn't have to worry about packing him lunch. She just packs the snacks for him. He's a high-functioning autistic individual, but he has been recently experiencing high states and low states, and she says that the highs are a little bit more than the lows. That he'll be up, and then all of a sudden he'll crash, and then he'll stay in that crash mode for a couple days, and then go back. So she's wondering if that has something to do with his diet. Another thing is that his bowel movements aren't regular. That's another thing that she's wondering if that has something to do with his diet. So, according to the ChooseMyPlate.gov, for a 7-year-old, there should be 1.5 cups of whole fruits, 2 cups of vegetables, 5 ounces of whole grains, 5 ounces of protein, 2.5 cups of dairy, and then limited sodium, saturated fats, and added sugars. So he's eating, as I stated before, he's eating a lot of packaged snacks. So he is getting a lot of sodium and added sugar. So he's eating a lot of convenient items. So the snack packs of Pringles he's eating goldfish, he's eating Go-Gurt, because that's just fun. So he really likes that. He doesn't have any real food aversions, as you would often see in autistic individuals, but the only thing he refuses to eat is applesauce, so that's not too limiting. He is a big fan of the strawberry milk that Nesquik makes, so that is kind of taking the high road over water, which obviously I'm not a fan of because of what's in it, so I would prefer him to have more water, and he is kind of slacking on his water, so that would be something to address. As far as his nutrient profile goes, he is inconsistent in his calorie range. So one day he's above his calories, the next day he's below his calories. He's having 1,600 calories as his recommended range. And on his first day he was too high, and the second day he was too low, and then back to too high. So kind of an inconsistent thing there. So a big thing that I noticed in his diet is that he's lacking fiber, and that is probably why he's having problems going to the bathroom. He should be at 25 grams for his age, and he's only taking in 9 grams, 10 grams a day. So that's something to add into his diet to help with that problem that he's having. Another thing that I noticed was that he's very low on iron intake. So that can be contributing to why he's on those low states, because if he's deficient in iron, he can be fatigued, he can be weak, and he doesn't have the energy to keep up with his schoolwork or go to hang out with his friends or whatever. So that's another thing. Another important thing I noticed was that he is low on calcium and vitamin D, which I was surprised that the calcium was low because a lot of the stuff he's taking in is dairy, but after I, really looked into what he's eating, it said that, his calcium was low. So he's already at a risk for vitamin D deficiency because he is African American. So his skin tone already places him at a risk for that. So then on top of that, he's not having the proper calcium, he's not having the proper vitamin D. So that can lead to fractures and weak bones and stuff, and it's really important, especially as he's growing. He just recently went through a big growth spurt, so, it's only going to keep going from there. So it's important that we address his calcium and his vitamin D to make sure that those bones are healthy. He's also eating a lot of sodium, so that's bad, obviously. We don't want to do that. We want to kind of decrease. I think that a lot of the sodium has to do with the fact that he's eating those processed snacks, and those all have a lot of sodium in them. So if we could kind of get away from those snacks and choose different snacks for snack time, then I think that we can decrease the sodium rate. Potassium was also another thing that was low, and that can also contribute to being tired and fatigued and weak. So that's what we would also look at is the potassium and seeing how to increase the potassium. There's barely any fruits and vegetables in his diet. There was an attempt. There was 2 attempts. There was some broccoli and a little bit of blueberries, but other than that, there's really no intake of fruits and vegetables at all, which again could be contributing to the bathroom problems. So there's also a little bit of saturated fat intake that I would like to address because we don't want bad fat. So that's another thing that we can go over. So my recommendations would be, again, to increase the fruits and vegetables because there's really nothing in there at this time. So there's a way I think that would be helpful, instead of her giving him the goldfish or the Go-Gurt to bring to school, if she made up little baggies of fruits or vegetables, like for instance, so he likes blueberries already, we know this, so put the blueberries in a little baggie, you have the baggie in the refrigerator, pop it in the lunchbox, and then you're on your way to school, and then you have a healthy item instead of something with a bunch of stuff and chemicals and all that stuff in there. So that's one of my suggestions. Another is to increase the water intake. If like maybe you can make it a fun game for him, like, you know, if you get 5 cups of water today, then you get to go and we get to play tag or something like that. Something that encourages positive behavior that will make him want to drink water, because, you know, when kids are at school, they're focused on what they're doing. They're with their friends. You know, they don't really think about drinking water. But right now he is barely drinking any. And he is mainly drinking, it's not posted in the food diary, but he's mainly he's mainly drinking strawberry Nesquik, which again is full of added sugars, and we don't want that. We want water. So in addition, I would add some fiber into his diet, leafy greens, stuff like that, beans, anything that's easy for her to add to whatever she's already making, because she is so limited in how she can cook. But just, you know, if she just added in some spinach or beans into whatever they're already eating, just to have that there and to help him with his bathroom troubles. Another point I wanted to bring up with her is that omega-3 fatty acids are kind of lacking in his diet, and it's been shown that EPA and DHA are linked to improved behaviors in autism, especially hyperactivity. So she was telling me that, you know, she can't figure out a way for him to get down from that state, that sometimes it's a struggle for her. So I would wonder if he added some of those fats and walnuts and chia seeds and flax seeds into the diet, which he's already eating yogurt, so if you just throw some of that in there and make it more convenient, if that would have any influence on his behaviors. So another thing I would like to talk to her about is just replacing things. So, you know, small steps for adherence. Make sure that our patients are really taking what we say and actually doing it, instead of do all of this and, you know, overwhelming. So like a small step, instead of the frozen chicken nuggets that she's giving him, maybe trade them in for grilled chicken. You know, it's still not the greatest, but if it's going to help the health and be a little bit more beneficial to his health, then I would prefer her to do that over the chicken nuggets and, you know, frozen meals, all that stuff. And then I think her best friend is going to be meal planning, because, you know, she works overnight, so it's hard for her to be on top of what they're eating and stuff. Most of the time she's making dinner and then she's leaving for work. So if she meal plans, say on a Sunday or whenever she's off, to, okay, this day he's going to have this for a snack and this for a snack, and this is what we're going to have for dinner this night, I think it would help her a little bit in changing up the diet for his health. As far as physical activity goes, he does do swimming lessons once a week. She said she would like for him to do it more, but it's the way their schedules are up. She can't. So he is doing that. He's very active in recess. He's always the one to start tag. He's always the one to start, games, running around the playground. So he is very active, but as far as the recommendations go, he's not getting as much as recommended by the Choose My Plate. So they recommend 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous aerobic activity for children 6 to 17 years old. So that should be done 3 times a week. And now that it's winter in New York, they're not going out as much for recess. So a suggestion I would have is, okay, he likes video games. Maybe instead of having a video game where you sit, maybe make it Wii instead. Make it a family thing. Make it something that he's still moving, but he's still doing something that he likes. And then in conclusion, I would just think that all the dietary changes would just help his mood swings and kind of decrease his fatigue that's associated with his lethargic state. So again, I would recommend the fruits and vegetables. I recommend the whole grains over the refined carbohydrates. I would make sure that his water intake is increased, his fiber is increased, his iron's increased, and then he's on his way to health. Thanks.